Got it.
I got it.
I got it. No fun?
4 minutes, it says.
Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa jaffarju. I want to offer my condolences, not just to the community members, but to Bibi Fatima Zahra and to our living Imam, Imam Abi Sahib was It's the 5th night of Muharram, and for that I offer condolences to you, O Lady of Light, and our living Imam, on the torture and the torment that the people of your house were going through to keep the word of your father, Bibi Fatima, and of your imamat and your right, Imam Zamana, alive. We reach out to our Lord, to Allah, the giver of everything, the giver of mercy, to purify our intentions. The reason why we ask to purify our intentions is action is good, but action coupled with intention is great. And that's when we get the maximum benefit, not just in the hereafter, not just on the day of judgment, but in our lives now. So Imam was saying, the message of Imam was saying, the Imamat is something that is a gift to the world and necessary for the world to help us on our path in this world, not just on our path to Jannah, but whatever things we do, work, health, our relationship with our family, all of this is also affected by our relationship with our Imam, right? And then along with our hereafter. And when we do things with a good intention, as opposed to doing things with a great intention or with the right intention, the benefits you derive are different. And so, Ya Allah, frankly, we're idiots. We focus on the wrong things in life. We look at the wrong things as success and different things as failure and burdensome. And for that, not only do we apologize and beg your mercy, but when we're doing these deeds, when we're trying to commemorate those who you love, Allah, purify our intentions so we give your loved ones the greatest honor that they could get from our behalf for us doing things, not just for them, but for the right reason. So, Ya Allah, please purify our intentions. And on this day of, on this night of the 5th of Muharram, Ya Allah, we're not deserving of anything you give us. Everything you give us is a reflection of your mercy. Yet, you tell us to ask you, and so we're going to ask you. And I know me personally, I'm a greedy man, and I'm going to ask you for things I don't deserve. And I have no doubt that you're going to give them all to me. So on this night, and on throughout the nights of Ashura, along with focusing on the simplicity of Imam Hussein and his people, I know me and my extravagance are going to ask you for many, many wishes, and I ask that you fulfill them, and first, anything I ask for, give to my community members, my brothers and my sisters, and then give them to me. And on this night, before you fulfill our wishes, and before you give us your forgiveness that only you could give, we ask that you first, on our behalf, on the house that's already having blessings sent on it, we ask that you increase the blessing so much, make it shower and rain blessings so much that the people of that beloved house notice the blessings have increased and ask what happened. And you will tell Prophet Muhammad and the family of Prophet Muhammad that these blessings are sent by the community that loves you. And once those blessings are accepted by them and they acknowledge to you that yes, they are from lovers of ours, and you view us as lovers of those who you love, at that time and only at that time we ask that you fulfill our wishes, fulfill our desire, kubul our du'as, kubul our hajat, and give us your ultimate mercy. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa jaffarju. Tonight's program is going to be as follows. We're going to have a recitation of Hadith Isa. We're very lucky that it's Tuesday night also, not just because they have tacos everywhere, but because we do du'at tawassul. And we'll talk a little bit about what tawassul is. It falls right in with Imamat. After that, we have Marcia. We'll have our lecture discussion format. We're going to post the quotes that we're going to be discussing. If anyone tunes in and you have something to say about the quotes and you want to discuss the quotes with us, you join us live or contact us, and we'll figure out that how we can make sure that you get involved. Coming over, live is the best way. But this is 2022, so we can figure it out. And then after that, we're going to have Noha followed by Ziyarat and Dua. So please everybody, please join in, and hopefully we will all be on this path together. Big favorite ask of everyone. Actually, I'll do a couple of quick announcements. So on the 7th is Mendi of Junadi Qasim. At 7th of Muharram, that is Thursday night. 8th of Muharram is Friday night. That is Hazrat Abbas's Hazri. Also, it's Karbala Poetry Night, which will start after the program. After the program's over, the matam's over, and after Niyaz. So that's a late night program. It's Karbala Poetry Night. On Saturday, on Saturday is the 8th, 9th of Muharram night. Sunday is Shabi Ashura. Monday is Ashura. On Ashura day, we have Amals live and in person in Huntington Beach. And then at 1:30 p.m., we have our Jalus. Jalus is followed by Bursa of Imam Hussain, Zarat Ashura, Faka Shikni. So please join us in the park. We actually have a kids program planned, during the time of the Jalus as well. So everyone's please requested to come and attend. It's we've been doing this in Southern California for over 30 years, starting in '93 with the Jalus, and this is our 3rd year in Huntington Beach, and so it's actually been pretty nice to teach the people in Huntington Beach about the story of Imam Hussain and show them unity and let people see what Islam and what Muslims are really about, other than what they might have heard. And you might be surprised, a lot of people don't know anything about Muslims other than what they see on TV. So it's really important that we get together and do good things for the community. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Please recite a Surah Fatah.
Please recite a Surah Fatah for Kullu Mu'mineen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. اللهم صل على محمد. And let's hear how did the kiss out with how we sang
Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat.
One more salawat, please. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. An Fatima Zahra alayhi salam binti Rasulillahi qala dakhala alayya abi Rasulillahi fi ba'd al-ayami faqala assalamu alayki ya Fatimata faqultu alayka assalam qala inni ajidu fi badani zawfa faqultu lahu uidduka billahi ya abatahu man az-zawafi فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فآتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وسرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله فما صلى على محمد وعلى محمد واجد فرجه فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمة فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمارة فؤادي فقال يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جده يا رسول الله أتدن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء قال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا سائي بهوزي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك أمة فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أمه إني شم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جد السلام عليك يا من اختاره له أتذن لي أن أدخل معكما تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافي أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معهما تحت الكساء فاقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن أمي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى وسلم فقلت نعم ها هو ما ولديك تحت الكساء فاقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي وخليفتي صاحب لوائي قد أذنت لك فدخل علي تحت الكساء ثم أتيت ناول الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتا يا رسول الله أتذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي يا بزأتي قد أذنت لك فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومى بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم ما إن هؤلاء أهل البيت وخاصتي وهمتي لحمهم لحمي ودموهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم يزنوهم أن حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن صارمهم وعدو لمن أعداؤهم ومحب لمن أحبهم إنهم مني وأنا منهم فاجعل صلواتك وبراتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى فقال له عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي إني ما خلقت سماء مبني يتولى أرزم هدي يتولى قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزيئة ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا في مهبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبالها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتذن لي أن أهبط إلا أرزي لأكون معهم سديسا؟ فقالوا نم قد أذنت لك. فهبط المين جبرائيل وقال سلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى يكريك السلام ما يخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبني يتولى أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلق يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذنوا لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا آمن والله نعم قد أذنت لك. فدق الله جبرائيل ما أن تحت الكساء. فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوها إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بحق نبي واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذخير خبرنا حتى فيما فلم من محافل أهل أرزي وفي هجم من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلا أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام ادعوا والله فزنا وفزاشيتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي ولدي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا مدخرا كبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموما إلا وفرج له همه ولا مغموما إلا وكشف له غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجة. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسئدنا قد عليك شيئتنا فآزوا وسئدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Please recite a Surah Fatiha for Kul Mu'mineen Mu'minat. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد واجعل فرجهم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد واجعل فرجهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم. دعاء التوسل by brother Wasi. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة العين رسولي يا سيدتنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا حسن يا علي بن الحسين يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباكر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا محجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها القادم يا ابن رسول الله يا محجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا حسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وسيع الحسن وخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا سعادتي ومولاي إني توجهت بكم أئمي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجاتي إلى الله وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله فاشفعوا إليه عند الله واستقضي من ذنوب عند الله فإنكم وصلت إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولياء الله صلى الله عليهم أجمعين ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالمهم من الأولين والآخرين Ameen Rabbal Alameen.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The best time to ask for your dua is after you recite dua tawassul, right on this night of 5th Muharram. Let's all do dua. Let's ask for dua together. Ya Allah, please send your blessings on Prophet Muhammad and the family of Prophet Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad and hasten his successor. Make him hurry to us and to our aid like he does every day, but also physically and visibly in our lives, so we know what the blessings are like to be in the presence of the Imam. Ya Allah, please forgive the sins of our marhum, forgive the sins of our parents, forgive the sins of our family, our friends, our community members, our neighbors, our co-workers, our fellow students. Ya Allah, please forgive the sins of everybody and forgive our sins. Ya Allah, please help us be like the people of Hazrat Ali alayhi salam who help widows and orphans. Ya Allah, please help them, the widows and the orphans, have a great life. Ya Allah, please help those who are unwed get wed. Ya Allah, please guide those who have lost their path. Ya Allah, please give rosy to those who don't have rosy and increase the rosy of those who do. Ya Allah, please guide everyone in their careers, in their family life, in their quest for success, for whatever they do. Please purify their intentions and guide them to the most success in whatever work they do. Ya Allah, don't ever let us feel like we are not receiving your mercy. Ya Allah, don't ever let us lose sight of what's important in this world is the final destination of Akhirat, and praising you and searching for our Imam and following the signs and the communication of our Imam. Ya Allah, please, again, we humbly request that you send your blessings on Prophet Muhammad and the family of Prophet Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We'll pause for 20 seconds so everyone can ask for their intimate desires. We just requested the wasl intercession from all the way from Prophet Muhammad, Bibi Fatima, all the way down to our living Imam Mehdi Sahib was Zaman of Islam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So if we're going to ask them to intercede on our behalf when we're asking for a dua, then let's ask for a dua, right? Your mom knows you best, and your mom knows you better than you know yourself. So don't be shy when you're asking your mom. Don't hold back. Take 20 seconds, and we will, ask for our duas, and then we're going to have some beautiful poetry recited by Sister Asiya Zainab, and we'll go from there. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wajh. Hi Sakina, hi Pias, hi Sakina, hi Pias. Oh Bibi Sakina, when did the torture stop? Was it when you asked your uncle Abbas to get water for you and your brother Askar, but he never returned with the mushk full of water? Or was it when you got your earrings pulled out of your ears and the bleeding would not stop? Or when Shimmer smacked your cheeks and pulled off your hijab? Hi Sakina, hi Pias, hi Sakina, hi Pias. Oh Bibi Sakina, you are so brave and so strong. You never gave up hope in Islam. Oh Bibi Sakina, you died in sorrow and pain. Your aunt Zainab said the youngest always drinks first. So Sakina never had water unless Askar had it before her. Hi Sakina, hi Pias, hi Sakina, hi Pias. We are here for you, Bibi Sakina. We are here today on the day of Ashura to remember you, O beloved Bibi Sakina. Hussein, oh Hussein, Hussein, Imam Hussein. You sacrificed everything for Islam. You sacrificed everything for Allah, our God. You left your daughter Sakina and your sister Kulthum. You also left your wives Rabab and Layla too. Hussein, oh Hussein, Hussein, Imam Hussein. You were not there to see the hijabs taken. You were not there to see the tents burning. The 7th level of heaven is where you belong, with your father and mother and son Ali Askar. Hussein, oh Hussein, Hussein, Imam Hussein, you remembered your mother who died in pain. Now it's our turn to remember you, oh Imam Hussein. Salah.
It's a good time to remind everyone, Friday night is Karbala Poetry Night. Looks like Sister Asiya Zainab might be ready for poetry night. Inshallah, you are too. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. This one.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sakina Oto, Mary Chan Oto, Rahai Meli, Jalo Karchala. Sakina Oto, Mary Chan Oto, Rahai Meli, Jalo Karchala. Sakina never returned home. She'll live in our hearts. She will give us hope. Sakina Oto, Mary John Oto, Rahai Meli, Jalo Karchala. Oh, young Sakina missed her father Hussein. How she was so strong, no one could explain. Her Uncle Abbas tried to quench her thirst. She wanted her brother Oscar to drink first. Sakina Oto, Mary John Oto, Rahai Meli, Jalo Karchala. Her sister Oto, Rahai Meli, Jalo Karchala. The tents were burning, your face covered in tears. Shimmer smacked your face and pulled earrings from your ears. Those earrings were a gift from your father Hussein. Ear loops are bleeding and you are in pain. Sakina Oto, Mary John Oto, Rahai Meli, Jalo Karchala. You were paraded through town without your hijab. Your brother Sajjad was too sick to walk. The Imam of the time, Zayn al-Abidin, they tortured your family more than any had seen. Sakina Oto, Mary Chan Oto, Rahai Meli, Jalo Karchala. The birds would fly in the roofless dungeon. They whipped her so much, the dress became her skin. Oh, Popiyama, will we ever leave? Sakina had died, Zainab was buried. Sakina Oto, Mary John Oto, Rahai Meli, Jalo Karchala. Sakina never returned home. She'll live in our hearts. She will give us hope. Sakina Oto, Mary John Oto, Rahai Meli, Jalo Karchala. Sakina Oto, Mary John Oto, Rahai Meli, Jalo Karchala. Salah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa jalla.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa jalla. Please recite Surah Fatiha. for kullu mu'minin mu'minat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajahum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajahum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajahum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alayhim ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim waladdallin. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahus samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahus samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahus samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajahum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajahum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Idha jaa nasrullahi wal fath wa ra'aita an-nasa yadkhuluna fi dinillahi afwaja. Fasabbih bihamdi rabbika wastaghfiru innahu kana tawwaba. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajahum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajahum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajahum. Alhamdulillah. All praise be to Allah. All praise be to Allah because nothing else is worthy of praise. Ya Allah, you're the one who loves us the most. You are the one who sees us the most. Ya Allah, you give us more attention than we could ever crave. Ya Allah, even though you are hidden from our eyes, and even though you are hidden from our senses, our bodies still feel you and crave nearness to you. Just like when you put a tree on one side of the window and you move it to the other side of the window, and the tree moves towards the light and towards that which gives us sustenance. Ya Allah, please make us bend and move in every direction so we could get nearness to you. Ya Allah, we don't need to bend and move in every direction. You've given us the straight path throughout the Mustaqim, Hazrat Ali alayhi salam and the 12 Imam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajahum. On that we thank you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, amongst your many benefits, your kingdom is so vast and you've given us so much, and amongst your many benefits, you have also given us the benefit of tawassul. Ya Allah, not only have you given us the benefit of tawassul, you yourself intercede on our behalf because that's how much you love us. And on top of that, you created these blessed personalities, the most perfect creations, things that you love so much, and you gave them the gift and allowed them to intercede on our behalf as well, to stand between you and us, since we are unworthy and they are loved by you. Ya Allah, you have given us the opportunity to seek intercession from you on behalf of yourself, and also since we are not worthy and since we cannot fathom talking to such a great being, Ya Allah, we are humbled in front of you. Ya Allah, we are embarrassed when we talk to you. We try to hide our sins from you, but you see everything we do. Ya Allah, we try to hide our intentions from you when we do good things, but you know what's in our mind and what's in our heart, and you still accept our deeds. Ya Allah, when you have intentions to do something good and can't make it, you still accept the deeds that we haven't done. Ya Allah, how generous are you? When you do good deeds taught to us by our parents, you give sawab to us and to our parents. When people do good deeds that we taught them, you give the blessings to them, to us, and to our parents who taught it to us. Ya Allah, your kingdom is so large that nobody could ever challenge your kingdom. Your kingdom is so large that you gave Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam such a vast kingdom, such a great kingdom, and his kingdom couldn't even match yours. Ya Allah, everything on earth is yours. Everything on Jupiter, Venus, Mars is yours. Ya Allah, everything in the heaven is yours. Everything in space is yours. Everything deep down into the Mariana Trench is yours and is a creation of yours. Ya Allah, what a creative master, what a creator we have that has taught us such great things that we can't even imagine that are in this world. Instead of worrying about what's in space, our mind can't even fathom what's in heaven. And even on this earth, we have creatures that are so intricate and so designed so big we can't even fathom them, and we can't even explore the entire globe of the earth. But with a world full of confusion, places we can't go, things we don't even understand, new things coming out, people telling us what to do. So much confusion is caused, yet you simplify our lives and you give us clear understanding and clear path and clear things every day, right? And that is why we turn to you and only you for guidance, right? And we thank you and we acknowledge that those who you love, the Prophet Muhammad and the family of Prophet Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa are our true guides, are our true leaders. So we seek leadership from them. we seek leadership from them. Isn't that what we've been talking about, right? You see, when Imam Hussein went to Karbala, right? Yes, it was because of oppression, but what was he being oppressed about, right? It wasn't freedom of worship necessarily, right? Yazid was the Khalifa of the Muslim Empire, so it wasn't being persecuted for praying namaz and for turning to Allah, right? It wasn't like that when you hear, the pilgrims had to leave England because of religious persecution, right? They weren't allowed to be Puritans, were Catholics, Christian were allowed to be Catholic, right? They weren't allowed to worship, right? Religious persecution, where you're not allowed to pray namaz and do hijab. That's not what was going on necessarily, right? What was going on was if you were a lover of the Ahlul Bayt, then you were being persecuted. And why was that important? Why was that important? Because Yazid claimed king. Yazid claimed king, but people who understood what leadership is, right? They couldn't claim king, right? They never accepted Jesus as king. Yazid as king. Right? They never accepted Yazid as king, and they turned towards Imam Hussein. And that threatened Yazid. That threatened Yazid because a number of different reasons. Actually, Yazid. A little bit of background on who this curse is. One of the worst individuals ever served. May Allah send curses on him. May Allah give us the chance one day to throw rocks at him. He's one of the worst despicable human beings on this earth. May Allah send lanat on him. He was the son of Muawiyah, another, Imam Jafar Sadiq said that they're, the worst things ever created were Shaitan, Pharaoh, Muawiyah. I don't remember the fourth, but I know Muawiyah is one of the, I'll look it up and tell you, but he was named as one of the worst people ever created, was Yazid's father. And Yazid's mother was a Christian woman. And so Yazid grew up in Syria. At the time, Syria was Christians, right? And Muawiyah, he's called what do they call it? He's called the warrior Khalifa, right? Because he did his reign through force, right? He conquered nearby lands, right? He didn't conquer nearby lands to spread Islam. He conquered nearby lands so he could loot the lands, and so he could take the bounties and make them part of his empire, right? And that's why Syria was so important to him, because he did trading in Syria, right? And there were Syrians who wouldn't want to trade with the Islamic world. So what Muawiyah wanted to do is, he had a lot of sons. This guy, he took many women and drank, and he didn't care, right? He just did whatever he wanted, right? And so Yazid was one of his children, right? And he lived in Syria, and he was raised by Christians. So Muawiyah wanted to put Yazid in power so he could solidify power in Syria and get the Christian allegiance. Actually, I'll show you something. Is Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat. Sorry about that. This is a coin. It's one of the first coins to be mass circulated. You can't really, it looks like a little black, like piece of trash in my hand. And I guess it is probably a piece of trash because it has a insignia, a silhouette of Muawiyah on it. This is coins that he minted, and he wanted to, be, he was basically, modern economics was Muawiyah's idea, right? What a smart man, we say, right? But you think about what actually happened, right? He wanted to spread his currency through Syria and through Arabia, and to do that, he needed to unseat the throne of the Ahlul Bayt, right? He signed a treaty with Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, saying that after Hazrat Ali, after Imam Hassan, Muawiyah would be the Khalifa, and after Muawiyah, the Khalifa, the Islamic leadership, would go back to the Ahlul Bayt, right? But he violated this treaty, right? It's not like he even kept it for a little while. He violated. There were other tenets in the treaty where he wouldn't speak out against the Ahlul Bayt. They would not be harmed, and the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt would not be harmed. And each and every one of those components of the treaty was violated, including returning the Caliphate back to its rightful place, right? Now, Allah is the one who sends the true leadership, right? It's Allah and only Allah who appoints the king. I have a quote right here, actually. Allah knows best whom to entrust with his message. That's from Surah Al-An'am, verse the 6th Surah, ayat 124. Allah knows best whom to entrust with his message, right? And he entrusted, first Hazrat Adam, all the way down Hazrat Ibrahim, Hazrat Dawood, Hazrat Isa, Jesus, right? All the way down to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And the appointment of Hazrat Ali alayhi salam was not for not yet, not yet, not yet. It was not for it was not appointed by Prophet Muhammad. It was appointed by Allah. And Prophet Muhammad message was to his job was to complete the message by appointing Hazrat Ali alayhi salam as his successor, right? And as the Imam. So in the time when Imam Hussein had left Medina, people were having their tongues cut off for praising Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, for giving allegiance to Imam Hussein. See, Yazid has sent his people to Imam Hussein's house, right, in Medina, and to go and get his allegiance, right? And they couldn't get his allegiance, right? And at that time, Imam Hussein knew that we need to leave. We need to leave, or bloodshed is going to continue, right? So Imam Hussein, he didn't claim kingship, right? Allah made sure, Prophet Muhammad made sure everyone knew, and Imam Hussein did his job as Imam with his actions. Yesterday we talked about how Imam silence will confirm the things that they say, and so that's what Imam Hussein did. He peacefully left Medina, right, to stand up against a false ruler and to keep Imamat alive, to show people how important Imamat was. And on the way he guided, right, he guided people. He talked to people. We talked yesterday about how there was a Christian family who converted to Islam, and actually were the first female martyr woke up that morning Christian and died a martyr in Imam Hussein's camp, right? We talked about Hazrat Hur alayhi salam on how he had gotten guided, by Imam Hussein to come back to the right path, right? Allah guides each and every one of us, right? We'll get back to this Imam Hussein guidance topic in a second. I want to talk about something very important that we did today. Brother Wasi did us a great favor. Thank you, brother, of reading Du'at Tawassul for us. If anyone doesn't know what Du'at Tawassul is, right, it is our request, right? It is our humble request to the beloved of Allah, starting with Prophet Muhammad, to Hazrat Ali, Bibi Fatima Zahra, Imam Hussain, all the way down to our living Imam, Imam Mahdi Sahib was Zaman alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad to intercede on our behalf. Let's get that first quote up, to intercede on our behalf, right? What is intercession? Intercession is when my daughter wants to stay up late and I say, nope, not happening. It's 8:30, you're going to bed. And so then she goes and she talks to her mother, and she, sweet talks her mother, and her mother comes to me and says, it's Friday, maybe, if we extend for half an hour. That's intercession, right? Asya knows that there's no way I'm going to listen to her, right? She doesn't know what she's doing. She's a kid, right? The other one, she's a kid, right? But she knows that, her mother's words mean something to me, right? And so her mother will come and tell me, and I'll listen, right? That's what intercession is, right? In Doi Komel is a very important line, beautiful line. And I actually just recently was reading the translation again and saw it and said, Ya Allah, please allow us to call you to intercede to yourself by yourself, right? The other one, someone. To yourself by the one with the road. To yourself by yourself, right? So we, in Allah's generosity, He intercedes on our behalf to Himself, right? Allah makes Himself in a less, I don't know if He can make Himself less intimidating, but He allows us to ask Him to approach Him because we're not worthy of approaching Him directly. Just the concept of being able to do that is mind-boggling, right? And one of the ways that Allah allows intercession to Him, by Him, is through the presence of the Ahlul Bayt, right? The wasl is intercession, right? We if I go and tell Allah, Ya Allah, forgive my sins, right? I ask Allah to forgive my sins all the time, right? And it's a good thing there's a veil in front of my eyes, because if I could see, if I knew more about Allah, I probably wouldn't even be able to utter, Ya Allah, please forgive me from my mouth, because I'd be so ashamed of what I did, right? But me, as this person with the curtains in front of my eyes, the blinders in front of my eyes, not being able to feel the ref, the energy, everything that Allah provides, not being able to understand the greatness other than to a very minimal, stage, right? I can ask Him for forgiveness, right? And Allah is very right to say, yeah, okay, cool. As soon as I forgive you, you're going to sin again. Or, you're not worthy of my forgiveness. Like, what have you done for me lately, right? There's nothing that I've done to deserve Allah's forgiveness other than accept the greatness of Prophet Muhammad and his family. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. That's the only good thing I've done. The only good thing I've done, and Ya Allah, please accept my love for them. You see, if I stand here, it's the only great thing I've done. That's an arrogant statement, my brothers and sisters, right? If I love the Ahlul Bayt, if I love them, one condition of their love is namaz. right? One condition of their love is namaz. The quote up right now is the first verse of Ayatul Kursi. Okay, we'll only go to the first half of the verse, right? It says, Allah is He. Besides Him, there is no God, right? Tawheed, right? There's no God except Allah, the ever-living, the self-sustaining, right? That's also self-sustaining, ever-living. Those are two components of Tawheed, and self-subsisting is also a component of Adal, Tawheed and Adalat, right? By whom all subsist, right? That again is His justice, right? Slumber does not overtake Him nor sleep. Not only does that show the power of Allah, right? But that also, again, goes back to Tawheed, right? If Allah got tired or if Allah slept, then Tawheed would not occur. This is, a topic I'm going to keep sprinkling on, because if we start talking about Tawheed, there's me and maybe a couple people who stay awake. Everyone else is going to leave and go outside, right? It's a very deep philosophical topic that we're going to continue to develop, right? Anyway, so slumber does not overtake Him, nor does He sleep. Whatever is on the earth is His, right? And then this is the part I want to focus on, right? Is who is He that can intercede with Him, but by His permission? Who is He that can intercede with Him by His permission, right? Who is He that can intercede with Him by His permission? Brother Samad, why don't you, tell us about that, just that line, or any part of that verse if you want to. But since it's Du'at Tawasul night, we're talking about intercession, right? This is where I wanted to start a discussion. It says, who is He that can intercede with Him, but by His permission? Exactly. 100%. Now, see, the thing is, all the prophets were given a gift, right? A gift from Allah. Allah loved His prophets, and Allah never takes. So if you're going to do a service of Allah, Allah is always going to give back, right? Just because that's the generosity and the justice of Allah. So each prophet asked for a different thing, right? For example, Prophet Ibrahim, he wanted, let's start with Prophet Nuh. You know what Prophet Nuh wanted? He wanted everyone who opposed Allah to die, right? They were the children of Qabil, right? The children of Qabil. Actually, this is kind of, I read this and I got a little freaked out. So there was a day of the week that was dedicated to music, right? The people of Qabil, they started to worship fire, right? The sacrifice, the sadaqah that Qabil tried to take out of the corn that he didn't care about before he killed his brother Habil, was put and disintegrated into fire, right? So Shaitan told Qabil to start worshiping fire, and if you worship fire, then fire will always accept your sacrifice. So what Qabil did is he created a temple of fire, right? And he started to have progeny, and the progeny would go to this temple of fire, and they started to throw stuff in the fire. Oh yeah, I want to sacrifice this cup. They throw it on a sacrifice, making a mockery of Satan. So they would give offerings, right? And as they started to play with fire, they started to figure out how metals work, right? Metal doesn't go away in fire, it melts, right? And you could weld it and melt it into certain things, right? So Shaitan taught them how to make a flute, right? Shaitan taught them how to make a flute and a couple other instruments, right? And so what they would do is they would use these flutes and these instruments, and they would start playing music, right? They'd start playing music, and they would start to ferment, the different fruits, and get drunk and play music, right? And then the women folk, right? Men and women were, as we know, there's Parda. Men and women are supposed to, be, keep their modest distance, right? I'm saying? We're not supposed to go, interaction with non-mahram is limited, right? And so this is what Allah tells us. It's not just at the time of Hazrat Nuh, actually there was no sin. All the sinners were drowned, right? So Shaitan was kind of bored. He had nothing to do, right? He's not going to corrupt anybody that went on the ark. And Hazrat Nuh didn't have much prophesizing to do. Everyone was understood, hey, Hazrat Nuh is the man, right? And so he was talking to Hazrat Nuh, Shaitan was, and he said, hey, tell me when it's easiest to corrupt mankind. And he said there's 3 times. One is when they're angry. 2 is when they are having to give judgment over somebody or weigh something out for somebody, right? And number 2 and number 3 is when a man and a woman are alone together, right? That's the third time it's really easy to make them sin. This is why Allah says to do parda, right? And so to keep us away from sin, it's good, better for us, right? And so the people at Qabil started playing their music, right? And the women would come out in the town square and start dancing, and the men would play the music, and the men and women would get together and make more progeny, right? Drink their fermented grapes and do their progeny. And everyone loved this so much that they dedicated 1 day a week to making this happen, right? And that, I'll tell you, that 1 day a week started a party that to this day is going on, because that 1 day a week they did was Saturday night. And now you think about what's going on Saturday night, right? There's people playing their flutes and doing their beats. There's people drinking their fermented beverages, and men and women going out and dancing to things, fornicating all over the world on Saturday night, right? This is a party night that was started by the son of Hazrat Adam, right? All the way, this was how that started, right? So I got off track, but we're going to talk about the wasl, right? And that's why it's important to understand why the rules of Islam are there. And that's why it's important to see, you have the example of Qabil throwing stuff in the fire and teaching his people how sadaqah is. And then there are the people of Hazrat Adam who lived, in the mountains, and they lived a pious life, and they would see, a different path, right? And so it depends, right? Some people would accept the descendants of Qabil as the imam, and some people would accept the descendants of Hazrat Adam as the imam, right? And the only problem is, right, since we're lowly people and we all sin, right, and we can't stand we have no right to ask Allah for anything, right? We need guidance, which Allah provides for us with imamat, right? And also the imamat is intercession, right? It's intercession. Let's pull up the second. Imamat is intercession, right? Is our imams. I'll tell you how that's. So the gift that Hazrat Nuh wanted was to drown all the sinners. The gift that Hazrat Ibrahim wanted was that from now on, all prophets come from my family, right? So we had two sons, Hazrat Ishaq and Hazrat Ismail, and every prophet come from their descendant. From Hazrat Ishaq were Hazrat Dawud, Hazrat Sulaiman, Hazrat Isa, and from Hazrat Ismail was Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli. Yes, brother Adi.
I'll just go back to you said about the three things that like corrupt people. Who said that? And it was
Shaitan told Hazrat Musa.
Shaitan told Hazrat Musa.
Yeah.
And it was when people pass judgment.
When you're supposed to pass judgment, either over somebody, like when you're somebody says, "Hey, who did what?" and you're trying, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or if you're like weighing something out, like I'm gonna, you bought some bread from me, and I'm gonna jip you 0.2 with some grain, so I can make more money, right? Stuff like that.
People make like do sin, you're saying?
Yeah. Well, when they're more likely to do sin is when they have the opportunity to weigh or judge, when they're angry, or when a man and woman, non-married, a man and woman are alone together.
When you say judge, though, is it just in terms of that, like making it, or is it like also like judging other people?
Judging other people. But I mean, judging other, yeah. Like when you're asked to give witness. Judging other people, that's going to, you know what I mean? Like, that happens, right? But that also happens when you're supposed to bear witness over something, right? That's when they're, most likely, right? And so does that answer your question? Yeah. And so the gift that Hazrat Ibrahim wanted was for all the prophets to come from his lineage, which happened, right? As I just explained from one end. And, that's one of the miracles of Imam Zamana is he merged the two families of Hazrat Ibrahim, Hazrat Ishaq, with the descendant being, Hazrat Isa, and Hazrat Ismail, the descendant being Prophet Muhammad, right? His mother was a descendant of Hazrat Isa. Our living Imam's descendant, mother is a descendant of Hazrat Isa, and our living Imam from the father's side descendant is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And now our Prophet Muhammad was given a gift too, and he's the love of Allah, Allah's favorite, the most perfect creation, right? And so if one wanted to drown mankind, and one prophet wanted not all mankind, but the sinners, and one prophet wanted to prophecy to come from, these are some pretty lofty asks, right? What did our prophet ask for? Who knows? Does anyone know what our prophet asked for? Namazi said, forgiveness for who? Forgiveness for his people. See, probably one could ask for anything, and he wanted the permission to intercede on the behalf of his people. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He could ask for anything. He knew that his grandson was going to be martyred. He knew that his pregnant daughter was going to get violently murdered, right? He knew what was going to happen to his descendants. He knew that, right? What he asked for was so he could intercede and provide forgiveness for his people. How lucky are we to have Prophet Muhammad as our prophet? How lucky are we? Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa forgive. And the scales of justice on the day to see Prophet Muhammad, he said, Bibi Fatima said, what's going to happen on the day of judgment. He said people are going to be heralded and running around looking here or there for somebody to support them, but no one's going to help, right? And she said, well, where are you going to be if I want to find you, my father? And he said, come find me at the scales of justice, because I'll be begging the scales of justice to go lenient on my people. And if I'm not there, then I'll be at the gates of hell to beg Allah to not send my people to the gates of hell. This is what Prophet Muhammad, we could be kicking it, right? Keep kicking it on the, read Surah Waqiah and see how awesome it sounds to be one of the people of the right hand on the day of judgment. I want to be there. Right? It sounds cool. It's like, good food. It says in Surah Waqiah, good food, good drink. Your friends are there. You're on a nice couch. It says this in Surah Waqiah, right? And the alternate, I don't want to be part of that, right? And instead of Prophet Muhammad kicking in the VIP section on the day of judgment, he's going to be in the masses trying to get us through the ropes. You see what I'm saying? That is such a lover of his people, right? And the scales of justice that he's going to be convincing are his best friend and his cousin and the successor, Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, is the scales of justice on the day of judgment. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So the scales of justice is Hazrat Ali alayhi salam. First Imam is Hazrat Ali alayhi salam. We're talking about intercession. Let's see what Hazrat Ali has to say about intercession. See this first quote that we have pulled up. It says, we are the means of connection between the people and Allah. We are the means of connection between the people and of Allah. Brother Wasi, why don't you tell me a little bit about what the quote, what we think Hazrat Ali is trying to tell us and wants us to understand.
I think Imam Ali is trying to tell his people that how important his status is. I guess he wants his people to know if there's anything you want to ask from Allah, what is the correct way of asking?
Yeah. What is the correct way of asking?
Right.
What is the correct way of asking? It's awesome that you said. I didn't even think. It's beautiful. See, when Hazrat Adam was sent down from Jannat for the mishap that happened in the Garden of Eden, right? Again, I'm not going to go off on the tangent of what happened. He ate from a tree that Allah told him not to, and him and Bibi Hawa got sent down to earth, right? Now, when they got sent down to earth, right, they weren't holding hands and came on earth, right? Actually, Hazrat Adam landed at one spot, and Bibi Hawa landed at another spot, right? And this is not at a time where you can call somebody and text them, hey, where you at, right? It's not at a time where you could, hey, drop me a pin, right? Not even, at a time where you could be like, hey, listen, if you see so-and-so, let her know I'm over here. There's nobody on earth, right? So they wandered the earth separately, right? Looking for each other, searching for each other, right? Searching for each other. And on the day of Ashura, right? Hazrat Adam was sitting there and Hazrat Jibreel flew down from heaven and he sat next to Hazrat Adam and he told him, he said, ask for forgiveness. He said, I've been asking for forgiveness. He said, let me tell you how to ask for forgiveness. And he said, you ask for forgiveness on behalf of Prophet Muhammad, Bibi Fatima, Hazrat Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And when Hazrat Adam, who's a prophet of God, asked for the wasl from these personalities, Allah forgave him and reunited Bibi Hawa and Hazrat Adam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And when the ark was sailing, right, Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam asked for, make it rain, right? Make it rain. Allah made it rain. Allah made it rain. Hazrat Nuh was like, I got to build an ark. I just wanted you to kill him. Okay, fine. Got to work, built this ark, and he's sailing. Everyone's dead. Everyone's dead, and Hazrat Nuh and his people are on the ark. The ark's getting stinky. There's animals all over the place. Feces everywhere. People's hair growing. No deodorant back then. What I'm saying? Prophets smelled. All smelled great. They always knew hygiene, right? Just imagine being on this boat for 40 years, right? No matter how awesome the boat is, right? No matter how good the cruise is, you want it to stop, and it wouldn't stop, right? Wouldn't stop. And so what happened? Hazrat Jibreel came down, and what do you think? Brother Ali? What do you think he told Hazrat Nuh?
I think he told Hazrat Nuh to pray on the behalf of the Panch and Panch, Prophet Muhammad, Imam Ali, Bibi Fatima, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, to stop the rain.
Exactly what he said. On the day of Ashura, he told him to do that, right? On the day of Ashura, this is what he was told. And then the water started to like drain, right? Start to drain through Kaaba into Kaaba, right? And so it brought the boat all the way to Kaaba, right? With the way the water was draining, and the ark docked right on Kaaba after Hazrat Nu prayed on behalf of these people, right? So now, we say that we were talking yesterday about how the imamate isn't just over mankind, right? Now I'm going to say something that might sound kind of ridiculous, right? Ridiculous in two ways. One is, okay, so we have our imam. What if ants have another imam, right? First of all, that sounds ridiculous. How could there be another imam, right? But what if ants have another imam? Human imam, ant imam, right? Now, we don't know what ants do, but if anyone saw Ant-Man, ants are pretty strong. They could lift like 10,000 times their weight or something. How they can't even lift like half of his weight. But ants, they're pretty small, right? They could do that. So, maybe their imam is stronger than our imam, right? And you wonder that, right? That's impossible, right? For obviously, because our imam is the strongest, on earth, right? But it's also impossible because, right, our imam is everyone's imam, right? Now, Allah created everything for a purpose. That's part of the adalat, right? Part of the justice of Allah, everything for a purpose, right? In Surah Taha, this next quote, it says, our Lord is he who gave everything its distinctive nature and then guided it, right? He showed everything, made everything do what it does, right? He made bees, defend the queen, right? And then he guided them on how to do that, right? He made bees buzz around and then get on my nerves, and he guided them on how to do that. You know what I'm saying? He made everything that moves, right? Everything that the atoms, protons, and neutrons, he made the rules for them, and he guided it. Who wants to tell me what they think about this quote? Our Lord is he who gave everything its distinctive nature and guided it. Give me a couple examples, brother.
Good.
Hit it.
Yeah, I liked how he said actually I have a definition on a different quote. Sag, do you want to get this one?
No.
Oh, is this the same one?
The middle one. Our Lord is.
Our Lord is. Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, so he who gave everything. I think it was it's a good thing how he said he gave everything, and then also I don't know if it's the same quote, but it's a similar quote how they say he owns or what does it say right there? He gave it. Yeah, he owns everything. So when you own something, like that means it's yours. So it's like he owns the earth. That means like that it just shows like how like severe and how powerful like he is.
Yeah.
So
you want to say something?
Yeah. I think it's also kind of saying stuff about Imama. You know what I mean? Our Lord is he who gave everything. That's our Rasuluddin, right? Our oneness. He's the one entity that created everything.
Mhm.
And he is, like you said, it has to be just because he gave everything a distinctive nature.
Yeah.
And so he guided it, and he gave that nature, and he gave that message, and then he guided it through Imama. And that's kind of, and it's coming straight from the Quran. It's not even coming. It's not even coming from.
So Allah says I made everything and I guided it, right? I made everything and I guided it, right? And now we're saying that. So then, Kamel, that still doesn't mean that Hazrat Ali is the Imam of the whole world, right? This still doesn't mean that Imam Zamana is the Imam of the whole world, right? But what about when Hadith Kisa, when Allah said that this is the house of prophethood, this is the house of Imamah, this is the house of Fatima. Let's see what Bibi Fatima had to say about that. Bibi Fatima says, we are the channel of connection between creatures and the Creator. It doesn't say we're the channel of connection between humans. We are the channel of connection between creatures, right? Created things and the Creator, right? Amal, do you want to talk about that one? We are the channel of connection between creatures and the Creator. This is Bibi Fatima saying that.
It's just it goes to show like the connection with all living creatures, not just animals or humans, it's also plants and rocks and water and everything that God has created for us.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything on that? Come here. You have to say so.
They give the message from Allah to us.
To everything, right?
That's a good one too. Actually, I like that. It's all a message, right? Like it should humble all of us. Really, truly, it should.
I think it's also very interesting that Bibi Fatima said that because she's not an imam, but she's part of the 14 Masumin, which is the lineage of the imams. So she's saying that the people of my family are the ones that are the connection between creature and creation, right? That little bit.
I think it also shows how well she understands both parties.
Right. Exactly right. Shows how well she understands both parties. And yeah, she's not an imam, right? But her house is the house of imamat. Her house is the house of prophethood, right? We're talking about Usuluddin, the roots of religion. Isn't Bibi Fatima the root of imamat, right? You see, the root of imamat is telling us what imamat is. We're channels of connection between creatures and the creator, right? So if you want to be connected to Allah, right? Allah doesn't smile. Allah doesn't frown. Allah doesn't get angry. Allah doesn't get sad, right? Allah doesn't get proud. Allah doesn't do any of that, right? Allah doesn't do any of that because Allah does not move because Allah is one, right? And Allah is just, right? So how do we know when Allah is happy? You know when Allah is happy? When Bibi Fatima is happy. You know when and you know when Prophet Muhammad's happy? When Bibi Fatima is happy. And you know when Hazrat Ali is happy? When Bibi Fatima is happy. And you know when Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein are happy? When Bibi Fatima is happy. And Bibi Fatima is happy when Allah is happy, right? And Bibi Fatima Tadara and her family are the ones that we listen to, Dawat Tawassul, and are asking for intercession, right? We're asking for intercession. I want to tell you something, right? And this is something I want you to keep in mind, right? We've been talking about Suluddin. There's also Fruuddin. Salat, Som, Hajj, Zakat, Khums, Amr bil Maruf, Nahi anil Munkar, Tawalla Tabara, right? These are conditions of, say, okay, look, if you want to be friends with Hadi and you don't like basketball, probably not going to get his respect. You know what I mean? Like that ball is life, right? You know what I'm saying? Except Wesley, I guess Wesley's the homie. You know what I mean? But you have to love the things that Hadi loves, right? To get in his inner circle, right? Makes sense, right? Like how could you be friends with me if you're a Packer fan? If you like everything I dislike, how are we going to kick it? You see what I'm saying? Right? And so one of the conditions of saying that you loved the Ahlul Bayt, right? One of the conditions of saying you love them is that we all like the same things, right? And they love namaz. They love namaz. See, namaz, roza, hajj, these are conditions of saying you love the Ahlul Bayt, right? You could say, hey, I like Komel, but then you could go and be like, yeah, I hate everything he does, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? I hate that he's so good at basketball, and I hate that, you know what I'm saying? I hate the Bears, and talk about all this stuff and be like, I hate all that, and you're actually not a lover of Komel. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to be a lover of the Ahlul Bayt, right, and you don't like doing namaz, you probably should learn about the Ahlul Bayt and understand what love is, how to love, right? How you love somebody, you show them, right? If you have kids, you constantly need to show them you love them, right? Every day, you tell them you love them and come back 5 minutes, say, hey, do you like this? Yeah, it's cool. I like it. Come back 5 minutes, say the same thing. Hey, check this out. Just show me that. I like you, dude. You know what I'm saying? Relationships, with your mother, right? With your wife, with your husband, with your brother. And so you have to constantly remind people that you love them, right? You figure out ways to connect with them. And that's what it is when we do namaz, right? In fact, namaz was so important. Namaz is so important that on the day of Ashura, right? On the day of Ashura, Prophet Muhammad had his very good friend, Habib ibn Mazahir, right? Habib ibn Mazahir was the same age as Prophet as Imam Hussein, and so when they grew up, they would Mazahir, who was Habib ibn Mazahir's father, was friends with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so his son, right, would hang out. Say, check this out. I hang out with Samad's dad and my dad were friends, right? So we hang out. It was like that, right? Imam Hussein would hang out with Habib ibn Mazahir, right? Habib means love, actually, right? So Habib ibn Mazahir, right? The Habib, the son of Mazahir, would hang out with Imam Hussein. Did that freeze? Okay. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So he would hang out with Habib ibn Mazahir would hang out with Imam Hussein, right? And so one day, right, he would follow him around, right? Follow him around like Kirtazan does with Hadi, right? Anywhere he goes, right? Hadi came to al-Asr. Guess who pulled up yesterday? Say mashallah, right? And so, just like that, Habib ibn Mazahir would follow Imam Hussein around, right? Obviously, Habib ibn Mazahir is better taste in friends than Irtaza does. So, so he was following Imam Hussein around, right? And one day, Prophet Muhammad saw Imam Hussein was taking steps. They lived in the desert, right? They didn't have paid, people are not trying to worry about building our place to cater to cars, right? So it was desert, right? So he's walking. As he's walking, the footprints are in the sand. And Habib ibn Mazahir is walking behind Imam Hussein. Everywhere he stepped, Habib ibn Mazahir would step, right? Prophet Muhammad saw this. He saw this and he started crying and he called Habib to him. And he gave him a hug. He gave him a kiss. And then Mazahir, came to Prophet Muhammad. And he's like, oh, my prophet, what did my son do that's so great that you called him? You called him. He followed. I saw him walking in the footsteps of Hussein. So he's going to follow Hussein everywhere. He's going to follow Hussein everywhere. And one day he's going to be a vital companion of Imam Hussein when no one else is there for him, right? Right. And so they went to Karbala, right? They went to Karbala. Habib ibn Mazar was in Kufa at the time, right? He was in Kufa with Hani bin Urwa and Muslim bin Aqil came there, right? And so after Muslim bin Aqil came to Kufa, they ended up through a very sad turn of events. Muslim bin Aqil found himself in the bottom of a pit, and they threw Hani bin Urwa and they beheaded them, right? So they were both martyred in Kufa. And so then after everybody was sent from Kufa to go fight the rebels in Karbala, right? That's what they were told, right? Ibn Ziyad had taken over the governorship of Kufa, right? By trickery, right? If you want to hear the history of that, we have our Muslim bin Aqil Majlis online. Listen to that and you'll see how all of that happened, right? And so, they ended up getting everyone to fight against Imam Hussein. But what they did also is they stopped the roads from Kufa. You couldn't come in or you couldn't leave Kufa, right? And this was because they wanted to see what you were going to do. They want to make sure nobody was going to help Imam Hussein, right? So Habib ibn Mazar was in Kufa and Imam Hussein had been in Karbala for a few days, right? He'd been in Karbala for a few days. And Bibi Zainab kept, seeing people arriving, and she would ask Imam Hussein, who's coming, right? She would send her maid, Fiza, to go see who's coming in. And Fiza would come back and report to her, like, they're soldiers and they're coming. And every time she would ask who's coming, they're soldiers and they're coming. And then she'd ask Imam Hussein, why are all these soldiers coming? And he told Bibi Zainab, he said, they're coming to kill me. So they're coming to kill me, right? And on the way to Karbala, he would end up running into different people, and they would try to follow him. And a lot of times he would let them go. Even the people that started the Qafila, he would set them free and tell them, go, you don't want to go where I'm going, right? One person he ran into on the way was Zubair ibn Kain, right? Zubair ibn Kain, he was a war hero, right? But he was a war hero for Ibn Ziyad, right? And he knew he was on his way to Kufa, right? As Imam Hussein was, and he also knew what Ibn Ziyad's plan was, right? So he was really hoping he wasn't going to run into Imam Hussein. He was really hoping on the way, let's take the 710 instead of the 405, right? They didn't have freeways back then, so he just took a guess. Okay, let's go 20 steps that way, maybe we won't run into him, right? But as fate would have it, one day Imam Hussein set up camp, and Zubair ibn Kain and his people set up camp across from where Imam Hussein's camp was, right? And so, he's trying to, shut the windows. Maybe he won't see us. You know what I mean? I don't think tents had windows, but he was trying to avoid seeing Imam Hussein. And Imam Hussein sent somebody from his camp to Zubair ibn Kain. He said, the son of the grandson of the Prophet wants your attendance, and left. And Zubair ibn Kain kept eating, pretending like it didn't happen. And his wife looks at him and say, the son of the Prophet wants to talk to you. What are you doing, dude? Get up, go talk to him, right? And he was a very serious man, a very vicious man. Like, people feared him, right? He had, done, his job in many wars, right? And so he went to see Imam Hussein. He went in very angry and very nervous, and he walked out, and there was a nur around him, and he was super calm, right? And he went to his people, his soldiers, and the people with him. He said, "You guys go home. You guys go home. I'm going with Hussein, right? I'm going with Hussein." Imam Hussein gave him a choice, right? See, the first woman martyr of Karbala was a Christian, right? A woman that woke up Christian, right? The one of the first martyrs of Karbala was a man, Hazrat Hur, who had denied Imam Hussein water. And now there is a man who was really trying to avoid Imam Hussein. He's trying to get to Kufa. He was probably going to join Ibn Ziyad's army, but it said Imam Hussein called him, right? And he sends his people off, and he's, I'm going to join Imam Hussein, right? So he went with Imam Hussein to Karbala. And then it was namaz time, right? It was Zohar time, right? Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam had given namaz at Fajr time, and now Zohar time came, right? Zohar time came, and look at what Imam Hussein did. Actually, I'll back up. So, they reached Karbala, right? And so Habib ibn Mazar, his dear friend, is in Kufa, right? Imam Hussein didn't call any. He would send people away, right? Don't stay here. You go. But to Habib ibn Mazar, he wrote a letter. He wrote a letter asking him to come. And that letter was delivered to Habib ibn Mazar when he was eating his food, right? Habib ibn Mazar read the letter, and he started to cry. And his wife's like, "What are you crying about?" He's like, Imam Hussein sent me a letter. He said, the grandson of the Prophet sent you a letter. What does he want? And he told her what he wanted. Now, nobody could get out of Kufa. So, Habib ibn Mazar, being very smart man that he was, figured out a way to get out of Kufa undetected. And on the 4th of Muharram, he arrived in Karbala. He was walking, and his servant, who he'd set free, wanted to accompany him. His servant was on his horse, and Habib ibn Mazar was walking. And as he was walking, Bibi Zainab saw from afar a man walking, and she sent her maid Fiza to find out who it was. The maid Fiza went, she saw Imam Hussein was there. And she asked Imam Hussein, who is this? And he told her, he said, this is our guest. This is my friend, right? Now, what happens when you really need a friend, there's a few people who you call. When you really need a friend, right? You realize who your friends are, and they're few and far between. When you really, really, really need somebody, when your life is at its, most stressful point, right? You start to go through your mind who I can call, and there's a very short list. And this is the one man that Imam Hussein called. This was his friend who literally followed in his footsteps when they were kids, right? When they were playing together. And so, Fiza knew who this was. So she went and told Bibi Zainab, right? Bibi Zainab said, give him my welcome, give him my salam, right? And so Bibi Fiza went back, and Habib ibn Mazar was just about to reach, and she told Imam Hussein, she said, Bibi Zainab sends the salam. Shahzadi Zainab sends her salam. And Imam Hussein said, you tell him. And so Fiza looked at Habib ibn Mazar, and she said, Shahzadi Zainab sends her salam. And Habib ibn Mazar, he took his turban off his head, and he said, how lucky am I that the granddaughter of the Prophet himself has sent her salam to me? How lucky am I, right? How lucky was he to be Imam Hussein's friend, right? We should seek to be our Imam's friend the way Habib ibn Mazar was Imam Hussein's friend, right? And if you don't think he could be his friend since you didn't know him from when you were a kid, you didn't follow in his footsteps, right? Neither did Zuhair ibn Kayn, right? But he was one of Imam Hussein's, most trusted commanders. He was in charge of the right flank, right? He was guarding the right side of the tents, right? When Shimmer had sent horses to shoot arrows at the tent, it was Zubair ibn Kayn who charged at them with his battalion and made them leave, right? It was him that did that, right? And then the time of namaz came, and the rest of the time, see, there was Hazrat Abbas and there was Habib ibn Mazar, right? And anytime Imam Hussein wanted anything, he would look at them first. He would look at Hazrat Abbas, right? And Hazrat Abbas go, we need this, the kids need this. My dear friend Habib, the women need this. Oh, let's call people for namaz. Oh, let's build a trench and throw. One of the things they did on the day of Ashura was so they wouldn't get surrounded. And it was so hot on Ashura that even the horses couldn't put their hooves on the floor, right? But a trench was dug, and they threw straw and they threw whatever was flammable in the trench and started a fire, so they couldn't get attacked from behind. Now think about how much hotter it made it. You have no idea the kind of torment these people went through, right? But Imam Hussein had his people there now. Had Hazrat Abbas, he had Habib ibn Mazar, right? And so anytime he needed anything, right, he would look at them, right? Hey, come on. And he knew him so well. He'd look at him and be like, and Habib ibn Mazar would go. He looked at Hazrat Abbas, Shah said, Hazrat Abbas would do, and he had his people with him, right? And now the day of Ashura is here, right? The days that people have been dying, people have been suffering for 3 days, right? Imam Hussein knew what was going to happen. He'd seen, Muslim bin Asajah. When Muslim bin Asajah had fallen, right? It was Habib ibn Mazar that he called to his side because he didn't want to bother Imam Hussein with his will. So he told Habib ibn Mazar his will. And he told him, he said, stand by this man. Don't desert him, right? And, that's who Habib ibn Mazar was, not just to Imam Hussein, but to everyone, right? May Allah make us the friend of the Imam. And then, namaz time came, right? Zohar time came. And what did Imam Hussein do? He didn't say, okay, I guess we got time, right? We got this not sunset yet. We'll pray later. No, what he did is he sent no other than Habib ibn Mazar to Shimmer. He said, go tell Shimmer to let us pray namaz, right? And Habib ibn Mazar went to Shimmer and he said, hey, it's namaz time. Let us pray namaz. He said, no, we're going to kill you. Namaz or no namaz, we're going to kill you. Shimmer, the more you learn about Shimmer, the more you learn what a douchebag this guy was. Like he was, he had described to have a pig-like nose. He was really dark, and he was Hazrat Abbas's uncle, but he was that guy who was like always trying to like impress people and do like dumb things, that he thought were cool, trying to, you know what I'm saying? And so he was the worst person. on Ashura because he wanted to be the first one to hurt everybody. He thought that was going to make him cool, right? Allah made him was dead and in hell, right? But so the more you learn about him, the more everyone kind of Habib ibn Hussein was like, oh, don't worry, you're gonna go to hell. Like I'm gonna die beside Hussein, and I'll see you go to hell when I'm kicking it. Basically he told him, right? You know what I mean? And he wrote back and he told Imam Hussein, said, no, they're not gonna stop fighting. So what did Imam Hussein do? He didn't say, okay, we'll pray later. We got it. No. In the sands of Karbala, the bloody sands of Karbala, the Imam and his people did tayammum. And he got the most trusted people. He got Zubair ibn Kain. He got Sayyid ibn Abdullah, right, to stand, right? And they got the shield and they got the helmet and they stood in front of Imam Hussein and they stood on the side, right? Shimr was sending horses to shoot arrows at the Imam, right? And at the people doing the mosque. So they made a barrier around them, right? Zubair ibn Kain and Sayyid ibn Abdullah stood in front of the Imam. Okay, and now the way they did namaz, right? See, Allah gives us it's called namaz khawf. When you're in fear of death, there's namaz khawf. In war, what you do is half of the army does the first rakat behind the Imam, right? And then after sajda, they go back, and and the other half comes and prays behind the Imam, right? And so this is how they were doing namaz, right? Now it said that Imam Hussein was doing namaz while he was fighting, right? Namaz khawf, you could also do ishara say, Allahu Akbar, Subhan Rabbil Azim, Subhan Rabbil Allahu Bihamdi, right? You can do it, Ishara say. So after the people in Karbala, after they did tayammum with the bloody sands of Karbala, you see the greatness of Imam Hussein. Dirt is haram to eat, but you eat haki shafa, the dirt of Imam Hussein, and it cures you. You see, blood is najis, but the blood on the sand of Karbala was purifying people for wudu, right? And so they did wuzu, and they stood behind Imam Hussein doing namaz khawf, and Zubair ibn Kain and Sayyid ibn Abdullah standing in front. The first arrow came and it hit Sayyid ibn Abdullah in his shoulder, right? He didn't wince. He didn't wince. Then he saw another arrow was flying by and he dove in front of it to take it in his chest. And Zubair ibn Kain, and they both were dodging and watching the arrow, watching these men on horses coming close range and shooting the arrows, right? So so sometimes they would catch them when they would have to pull them out because there was no room on the chest shield, right? Sayyid ibn Abdullah already had wounds from knives and spears from the battle that had happened earlier on his chest, and now he had arrows coming at him full speed, but he didn't flinch, and he did that until namaz was over. And when namaz was over, he fell to the floor, and he was at the end of his life. And Imam Hussein took his head and he put it in his lap, and Sayyid ibn Abdullah moved his head. He said, why are you moving your head? Why are you moving your head from my lap? Are you okay? He said, that lap is the lap of Sakina. He's like, princesses sit in that lap. I cannot put my head in that lap. And Imam Hussein held him as he died. And then after that, Zubair ibn Kain had gone to war. Zubair ibn Kain had fallen too. And after Zubair ibn Kain had fallen, Habib ibn Muzahir, he stood by the Imam and he said, my friend, I've stood by you all my, let me go die for you now. And he looked at him, he said, wait a little bit, my friend. Habib, you're my friend, stay by me. He held his hand, like you hold your friend's hand, right? And he held his hand and he said, stay with me. I feel a lot better when you're here, please. And so he waited. And then he finally gave Habib ibn Muzahir permission. He let him go. And Habib ibn Muzahir went to the battlefield. He went to the battlefield, and just as expected, he had sent so many of the enemies, the cowards, to hell. Who are they to come to a man like Habib ibn Muzahir, right? Who are they to come to a man and challenge him in a duel? Habib ibn Muzahir sent so many of the men to hell until an arrow hit him in his eye. An arrow hit him in his eye, and he fell. And these people, they were frauds. They were weak. They were fake. They were bullies. As soon as a man would fall, they would surround him. They would hit him with their knives and hit him with their spears while he was on the ground and punch him. And they were doing this to Habib ibn Muzahir. They were doing this to Habib ibn Muzahir until he died. And Imam Hussein, you think Marcia, when somebody recites a poetry, when somebody recites Marcia, you think that, what's this about? Zubair ibn Kain, when he went out, I'll tell you, he dropped some bars. He said, I am Zubair ibn Kain. I'm fighting for the family of Hussein. I'm Zubair ibn Kain. I fight for the family. And that's how he died. And when Habib ibn Muzahir, when he fell to the floor, Imam Hussein came and he started to read Marcia. He said, Ya Allah, I testify that this man is he who used to read the Quran in one night. I testify that he's a hafiz of Quran. Ya Allah, please let him enter into the gates of heaven quickly. He read this, the most beautiful poetry, and then listen to what Imam Hussein did. He picked up the body of his beloved friend and he hugged him, and he could still feel him breathing, his head on his shoulder. He said, "Oh my Habib." Habib means love, and that was the name too. "Oh my Habib, oh my Habib, oh my friend." And Hazrat Abbas was there. Hazrat Ali Akbar helped him pick up all the bodies were there. But Imam Hussein waved them off, and he picked up the body of Habib ibn Mazahir. He was walking. "Oh my Habib, oh my Habib." He lived. I loved his friend so much. He loved his friend so much. He carried his body and put them down with the marhum. This was his friend. This was his childhood friend Habib. And then when they were leaving Karbala, all of the spears, all of the heads were on spears and were being taken from Karbala to Kufa to Sham on spears. And when they stopped in Kufa, remember, Habib ibn Mazahir had lived in Kufa. He had a young son named Qasim. That couldn't make it to Karbala, right? And so when the Qafila had arrived in Kufa, he saw the heads on the spears and he looked at them. And then he looked and there was one head being dragged by the horses, and that was the head of Habib ibn Mazahir. The head of Habib ibn Mazahir, and this young boy Qasim, right? He went up to the soldiers, and he said, "What's going on? Whose heads are these? These are the heads of the marhum." He said, "I want that head. That's the head of my father. I want to bury it." And they said, "No, we're taking it to Syria." So whatever they're going to give you in Syria, I'll double it. I'll triple it. Let me have the head of my father. Please let me have the head of my father. And they said, "No, all these heads are accounted for. We need to get to Syria with all these heads. So I cannot give it to you." And the Qafila left. And Qasim ibn Habib ibn Mazahir, he had gotten his friends. He had rounded up his friends. He said, "This cannot stand." Got all his homies, got all his friends. They got their swords. They got their knives. They were going to go and attack the Qafila and get the head back, right? Or die trying, right? And they were coming up close. And they saw Imam Zainul Abidin, and Imam Zainul Abidin looked at him and he said, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You don't want to come with us?" And he said, "How can a man who has a young son, how can a man with a young son have his head being dragged by the horses? How can a man who has a living son have his head being dragged by the horses?" And Imam Zainul Abidin looked up at the spear and he pointed it to the head of Imam Hussein. He said, "Am I not Imam Hussein's young son? Is that not my father's head over there? Please return to your home. Return to your home." And the young boy Qasim returned to his home. And Habib ibn Mazahir's head, along with the heads of the marhums, were dragged all the way to Syria, all the way to the courtyard of Yazid. May Allah send lanat on the enemies of Islam, on Yazid, on his family, on anyone who thinks what they did was cool. May Allah send lanat on all of them. Ya Allah, please allow us to be friends with the Imam. Allow us to be friends with the Imam, so when he needs somebody, he can write us a letter. And let's promise that if our Imam ever tells us he needs us, that just like Habib ibn Mazahir did, we're going to drop everything and go. Imam is Amana, we are your people. That is why we are here. Al-Asr Jamaat is named after you. We are your supporters. We are your friends. You ever need anything, this is where you come, Imam Zamana. You let us know, we're going to be there. And Ya Allah, if we're not ready for that, change our hearts, change our intentions, change our actions. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu alaihi Muhammad. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, गम शबीर में दो आंसू बहा लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीवी की दुआ लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीवी की दुआ लो लोगों, जब
भी अब्बास की यादा सकीना की तरह, जब भी अब्बास की यादा सकीना की तरह, एक सूखी सी कोई मश्क उठा लो लोगों, एक सूखी सी कोई मश्क उठा लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, कूफा ओ शाम के हर मोड़ पे ज़ैनब ने कहा, कूफा ओ शाम के हर मोड़ पे ज़ैनब ने कहा, मैं नबी ज़ादी मेरा पर्दा बचा लो लोगों, मैं नबी ज़ादी मेरा पर्दा बचा लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, बिनते ततहीर को जा शाम के बाजार को जा, बिनते ततहीर को जा शाम का बाजार को जा, सर पे चादर भी नहीं नजर झुका लो लोगों, सर पे चादर भी नहीं नजर झुका लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, शाह बेकस की सबीलों पे चलो अहले अज़ा, शाह बेकस की सबीलों पे चलो अहले अज़ा, याद असगर को करो प्यास बुझा लो लोगों, याद असगर को करो प्यास बुझा लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, रोज़े आशूर ये ज़ैनब की सदा आती है, रोज़े आशूर ये ज़ैनब की सदा आती है, मेरे भाई का जनाजा है उठा लो लोगों, मेरे भाई का जनाजा है उठा लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, आज तक गूंज रही है ये सदा मकतल में, आज तक गूंज रही है ये सदा मकतल में, कैद से मेरी सकीना को छुड़ा लो लोगों, कैद से मेरी सकीना को छुड़ा लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीवी की दुआ लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीवी की दुआ लो लोगों, गम शबीर में दुआ सुबह लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, आओ मातम करो बीबी की दुआ लो लोगों, या हुसैन या हुसैन या Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, 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 Hussein.
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein. Hussein.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجر فرجهم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجر فرجهم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجر فرجهم.
Yeah, I got the mic. So you guys just join because I'm gonna do. Huh? Yeah, I'm gonna do the like Faraj. Just join in the Arabic like Faraj goes, but then I'm gonna go. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, all beneficent, the all merciful. Ilahi azmul bala wa bari al khafa. O my Lord, the calamity has aggravated, the absence prolonged. One kashaf al kita, one qatar raja. The curtain of modesty has been lifted, hope has been curtailed. Wadaqat al ardu wa muniyat as sama. The earth has been narrow and the sky has been denied. Wa antal mustanu wa ilayka al mushtaka. And you are the one from whom help is sought and complaints are made. وَعَلَيْكَ الْمُوَالُ فِي الشِّهَادَاتِ وَالرَّقَى. And in you we trust in the times of difficulty. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. O Allah, send blessings upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the progeny of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجر فرجهم.
أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا تحتهم. The possessors of authority whose obedience you have enjoined upon us. وعرفتنا بذلك منزلة فرج أنا بحقهم فرجا آجلا قريبا كلم البصار أو هو أقرب. And by that made us aware of their position, then make open for us by their truth an immediate opening, immediate as a wink or sooner. Ya Muhammadu, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Muhammad, O Muhammad, O Ali, O Ali, O Muhammad, Ikfiyani fa inna kuma kafiyan, wansurani fa inna kuma nasiran. Suffice me, both of you, as both of you are sufficient. Help me, two of you, for you are my helpers. Ya Maulana, Ya Sahib as-Zaman, O our master, O master of the time. Al-Ghawth, 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 help, help. Adrikni, 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 rescue me, rescue me, rescue me. Asa, 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 this moment, this moment, this moment. Alajal, 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 hasten, hasten, hasten. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Bahaki Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin. O most merciful of the merciful, for the sake of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his progeny. Salawat.
اللهم زارت زاد حضرت عباس علیہ السلام اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل عباس بن أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوصيان السلام عليك أيها العبد الصالح المطيع لله ورسوله السلام عليك يا أفضل الشهداء السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. زيارة إمام حسين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. Salam alaikum ya Abul Fazl Abbas. Salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Zarat Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida alayhi salam. Assalamu alaikum ya Garib al-Gurba. Assalamu alaikum ya Ali ibn Musa Rida. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Zarat Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. Assalamu alaikum ya Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. Assalamu alaikum ya Imam al-Insa wal Jan. Assalamu alaikum ya Sharik al-Quran. Alaman, Alaman, Alaman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa sallim.
اللهم صل على حضرتنا الحسن صلواتك عليه في هذا وفي كل شيء
تسكنه أرضك سوا يا فيها طويلة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
اللهم صل على محمد.
O Allah, please be for your representative, Al-Hujjah, the son of Al-Hasan. Your blessings be on him and on his forefathers. Now and at all times, protector, guardian, leader, helper, guide, and watcher, so that you shall allow him to prevail on your lands willingly, and you shall make him enjoy it for a long time. Inshallah.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Don't forget poetry night on Friday.
Poetry
10:30.
And
Inshallah. After
seven-
the program.
seventh
Bring your
seventh
friends.
Muharram, we're gonna have a Mehdi program. 8th Muharram, it's gonna be a Hazir program. On 10th Muharram is
We're gonna be
Ashura
doing
Day,
Julus at the park
Jalus at the park.
What day is it?
on Monday.
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 And then
Inshallah.
same day at 10 a.m. Amal.
Inshallah, it'll
beforehand.
be at 1:30 after the Amal, that's at 10 a.m. And then we'll be opening Faka Shifni as well. Please come join us, bring your friends, tell your family. Inshallah, it's going to be very learned and we're going to have a good time doing Azadar. Thank you.
Inshallah.
Salawat one more time. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.